Welcome everybody. This is Jason and the name of this workshop is Hold That Pose. It's a workshop about posing. Rachel did a really great workshop about mostly photo techniques, but some posing about 6 months ago. I'm not going to retread that. I'm going to try to complement her workshop. So let's get rolling. What makes a good pose? A good pose, in addition to the traditional photography elements, composition, lighting, distance, color, and timing, accentuates the sim over all of the other stuff in the image. Good posing is essential if you're telling a story, modeling clothes or accessories, or generally just making your photo more visually appealing. Beyond selecting the right pose to put the sim in, we have to consider other factors such as setting up the user startup cheat to quickly get the game to do what you want it to do, installing a third-party screen capture app, my preference is Fraps, so that you're not relying on Maxis's dismal camera settings, installing useful mods, no red line on pause, fourth wall options, freezer clock, additional lighting, to help you set up the perfect photo. Installing the right set of OMSPs for your needs. And we will go over the OMSPs in a little bit more detail. Finding the right set of poseboxes for your photos. Before you start, the user startup cheat. The user startup cheat is a set of instructions that the game loads prior to launch that either preload Sims2 cheats or make manually entering them easier via aliases. You can find further information in a deep dive into the cheats as well as download a pre-configured user startup cheat at Pleasant Sims. And I have left a link in the notes in the actual workshop post if you need it. I personally use a slightly modified version of this cheat in all three of my games. What you need to know. To DIY a user startup cheat, you would enter your list of cheats onto a notepad and save it as user startup. Then you rename the file extension from txt to cheat. Put that in Documents, EA Games, Sims2 config. Cheats that begin with bool prop or uint prop can be added directly to the cheat menu, and all cheats can be shortened by an alias, e.g. if you add alias con, then in quotes bool prop constrain floor elevation true. When you access the cheat menu and enter con, you activate the CFE cheat. And I have the web page for this. I loaded it up right before the workshop. So if you go to this page in Pleasant Sims that you can find in the workshop notes, she goes into a really deep dive about the user startup cheat. And if you go to the end of her post, you can actually download this pre-configured user startup cheat that makes it really easy. And then if you go to your game folder, this is near where you put the downloads. If you go to config, you can see there's already a user startup cheat here. You can just write this down on a notepad and then rename txt into cheat. And when you pop that open, it looks like this. It looks like a regular notepad file. So you've got basically anything that begins with bool prop, uint prop, float prop, you can enter that directly into the cheat. And then for aliases, you just enter alias, and then for example here mton modify neighborhood terrain on in quotes, when you enter this alias, it's going to activate that cheat.
Oh, sorry. One question. So you know how in that cheat, there's like 3 different configurations it could, you know how there's like 3 different things in quotes. If you don't put one of those things in quotes, will it still work? Because you have to put like all 3 things in those quotes.
I I haven't done it myself in a while,
Oh,
but I
okay.
understand what you're talking about. I think you would only need, so essentially it's going to enter, if you enter this alias,
Uh-huh.
it's going to activate however the game reads. I think she did it this way so that no matter which version of the game you're using, or whether it recognizes a capital letter or not, it's entering all of that information. Choosing a screen capture tool. Now this is a contentious subject. So we've got Fraps, we've got Bandicam, we've got Gadwin, and we have several others. What's the best option? While this is largely a personal choice, it's clear that the in-game camera isn't up to the task of delivering high-quality photos. If you're new to Sims 2 shenanigans and want to review the options for yourself, you can find a list of screenshot tools in the new Toolshed channel, Screen Capture and Screenshot Tools. Fraps. The pros of Fraps: it's highly customizable. You can set it to semi-auto fire and forget. Cons: some users have trouble getting it to work with Windows 10 or 11. Bandicam. Pros: it's easy to use. Cons: it only works with Windows, and if you're screen recording, it only records about 10 minutes. That's with the free version. Gadwin print screen. Pros: it's easy to use and it captures whatever's on your screen. Cons: it doesn't archive screenshots. You have to take them one at a time. This was annoying for me when I tried to switch to Gadwin. I personally do not like Gadwin. More specifically about Fraps. Here's a quick way to optimize Fraps as semi-auto fire and forget screen capture app. In the General tab, make sure that Fraps is always running on top. So, you open Fraps, the first tab, make sure Fraps is always running on top. This is helpful. When you launch your game, if Fraps is always running on top, you're going to see this FPS overlay in whichever corner you selected it to be in. In the Screenshots tab, set a custom location for your screenshots. Make sure that include frame rate overlay on screenshots is unchecked, and that repeat screen capture is checked. Set the delay to a relatively low number, and that looks like this. Okay, so we set up Fraps to save in a custom location so that we can find it easily. Then we can set our hotkey for screen capture. We'll make sure that the one that includes the frame rate is unchecked, and we make sure that this repeating screen capture is checked. Then we set the delay here. It's really handy for taking like modeling poses and storytelling poses. So, quintessential pose boxes. So, the OG Decker Gal. I'm sure that everyone has at least one of these. I've got the basic modeling pose box and the talk hack overlay. These are I have these in every version of my game. They're really handy. The one on the left, the modeling pose box, it has face overlays. You can combine 2 or 3 of these to get really neat expressions. And the one on the right, the talk hack overlay, it's got all of the basic standing idles, with your arms crossed leaning, arms at your side, arms on your hips. It's really handy for modeling.
So I have a question.
Yes.
I have the one on the left. The one on the right I've never seen before. Is that on Mod The Sims 2 or is that elsewhere? Because I have a Deco Girl hack, but it's like a picture frame version of like all this stuff, and I don't know if that's like an older version or a new version, but I've never seen
It's
that box
it's
before.
different. I believe that one is for it's an overlay and it's for
Yeah.
sitting. This one is standing talk. So
There's
standing idles and standing conversation and things like
mhm.
that.
There is a sitting one, but there is also a standing picture frame one. So I didn't know if this box was the same one as the standing picture frame one that I had, but I'll look
I
into
think
it.
it's different, but I will link that in the workshop
Okay,
post.
thank you.
DD's adjuster overlays. These are really handy. If you have a pose that's not quite right, if you have an arm that needs just a little bit of tweaking, or you have a leg that's out of position, or you like you like where the hand is located, but you'd like her to be doing like a peace sign or something. These are really handy little. They don't adjust the entire animation skeleton. They just affect the one area, and they overlay more data onto the animation skeleton. IKEA Guinea's animation paintings. So what makes these different? I mean, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with JD's movie hacks, Squinches, Hula, and more. These cover like really the basic animations that come with the game. What's different with IKEA Guinea's animation paintings is that uh, they have all of these weird, like not everyday animations, like the alien abduction one, and you're just really unusual animations. You can use them for storytelling and stuff, but they're it's a little bit more offbeat than the regular animation or the animation objects. So they're fun to have. Best OMSPs for posing. And again, this is my personal preference based on years of use, but you might have some other OMSP that you like better. So on the far left, the purple one, we have the OG Silent Lucidity. I have her entire set, but this one specifically, number 2, it's the perfect height. It puts the sim just a teeny tiny bit above the floor when they're standing, so you can take these flawless pictures. Then to the right of that, not really an OMSP, but I didn't have another image to include it in. This is Triag's freezer clock. Super useful object to have when you're modeling, and I will explain a little bit more about that and give a demonstration of it later. Then some other guy created this 10 more slot package. Basically, it's for posing groups as opposed to individual models. It's an OMSP, but it has more than one slot. And then on the right, we have Anoeska's object rotator. It's like an OMSP, but it's actually got 36 slots in it. Each one is offset 5 degrees. So if you have a standing pose that you're happy with, but you're not quite happy with the sim's position, you can put the sim on this and then rotate it until the sim is in the right position.
Julie asked, and I would like to know as well, does the Anoseka rotator have an invisible recolor?
Yes, it does.
Nice.
And there are several of those. She has one for just deco objects and for big flora objects like refrigerators and this kind of thing. But I use the big one because it's handy for posing sims as well. So, steps for posing single sims. To get the right pose for a single sim, in the cheat menu, enter move objects on and bool prop set quarter tile placement true. And if you're not using the user startup cheat, you'll probably have to enter bool prop allow 45-degree angle of rotation true as well. Place a sim on an OMSP. Have the sim select pose and face overlays. Position the sim where you want to take the picture. If you have multiple sims, move them around on an OMSP until they're in the right position. Enter Cameraman mode, and to do that, you just press Tab. Navigate to the correct height, distance, and zoom by using W, A, S, and D to move the camera forward, left, right, or back. Q and E to move up and down, and Z and X to zoom and unzoom. Play with it a little bit. It's kind of a new experience if you haven't done it before, but you can get really good photos by entering Cameraman mode. When you're happy with the position of the camera, press Control and then 5 to 9 on the keyboard, or just one of those. The numbers between 5 and 9 on the keyboard, these save preset camera positions for you. So if you save that position and then enter Tab to exit out, the next time that you enter Tab and then you just tap the number of the preset and it will automatically go to that position. Then you position your camera in front of the subject. When the sim is selected, you're using MSD's third wall cheat and have the sim look at the camera in the pie menu. It might take a few tries. If you're posing several sims in a row, you might have to use Triag's freezer clock to freeze them as they look at you, because idle sims tend to make zombie eyes and it can take multiple tries to get the sim to look in the correct direction. To get the right pose for a group of sims, in cheat mode we would enter move objects on and bool prop set quarter tile placement true. Place a sim on a specialized SMSP or TMSP for groups. Or I'm sorry, all of the sims, not just one sim. Then have the sims, each individual sim, have them select the appropriate poses and face overlays. Position the sims where you want them to take the picture. Enter Cameraman mode. Navigate to the correct height, distance, and zoom. When you're happy with the position, press Control and then one of the preset camera positions to set the position, and then Tab to go back to live mode. Position yourself in front of your subjects. With the designated sim selected, click on the sim and select Look at Camera from the pie menu. This might take several tries. And then when you have them positioned and looking at the camera, use the freezer clock so that they don't make zombie eyes. Then hit Tab again, go to your preset position, and you can take pics. I was going to say the no pause frame. This is already in the notes, but it removes this red pause frame. When you're paused, when you're in cameraman mode, you can take really brilliant pics without the red frame in the way. And this other option, or this other thing, MSD's fourth wall options, this is really handy for getting the Sims to look at you.
One thing I noticed about the Triag freezer clock is it doesn't allow you to freeze visitors. So I actually have a modified version I use for personal use. I can link it. It allows you to do it for visitors. It was just a matter of going in to SimPE and checking visitors on like the T tab, I think.
Oh, that's handy.
The other thing is the facial overlays, very handy. Love them. They're not enabled
Yes.
for children, so I have a box enabled for children.
Yeah,
Facial stuff.
that was on. Oh goodness, Emmy Bay, like years and years ago. I think the creator's name is Yare.
Yara, yeah, Yara is a pose box maker, I think.
Okay, so we have our Sims spawned into a lot. I open the cheat menu, and this is super easy if you have the user startup cheat. I enter my alias for move objects on. I open it again. I enter my alias for quarter tile on, and then I go Control F to enable quarter tile. And now I can grab her. That is the security hat. So I need to remove this weird accessory from her. I remove the hat. And let's do some individual poses to start off with. We'll just go one arm on hip. And we'll have him legs apart, arms crossed. And we'll have her do arm side leaning. And give her a happy expression. Make her smile, and we'll make him smile. Okay, we have the Sims posed, and we have the facial expressions. I'm going to turn off their thought balloons because those are starting to get annoying. Next, we go to where we have the OMSPs stored, and I'm just going to place 3 of these out here. So we're grabbing the male sim. I think I already have some, so I'm just going to get rid of those. I just don't want those to get in the way when I position these. So with quarter tile enabled, we're going to put him right in the middle. And she's going to go on the left, but I don't put her exactly one tile apart. I move her a quarter tile in so they're a little bit closer together. And then we grab her, and we do the same thing. She's a quarter tile in, but on the other side. We make these invisible. And we get the freezer clock because I know that I'm going to need that. Go to my preset camera position. This is already preset because I use this to model these specific clothes. And we have our Sims look at player. Sorry, in the language of the tutorial I said look at camera, but actually the string says look at player. So you see how that backfired because when you move a sim into a new position, they're going to react to basically everything around them. Let's do that once more. Look at player. Okay, so we can see that the two girls, they looked at me, but the guy in the middle is being a pain. So let's go ahead and freeze them. Just use the freezer clock to freeze them in place and get him to look at us once more. There we go. Grab the freezer clock, move it out of frame. Then I move back to my preset camera position. So I think I need the walls up because you can just see that raw edge of the wall there. Maybe if I scoot in and just change my camera preset so I don't have a wall above that. So we frame them, and then I'm going to go Control 5 to set my camera position. Then we tab out, tab in, and we go to position 5. And then we use the up arrow to do screen captures. And because the up arrow moves it forward slightly, I have to move back to the original camera position. Okay. And then let's move these 3 OMSPs back over here, because I'm not going to need them for the next part. Unfreeze my Sims. She didn't quite select that for some reason. Unfreeze the 2 Sims that I had frozen and move them out of their poses. Legs apart, arms crossed, we stop. And then we just stop her. Now they're back and ready to be posed again. So this time, I'm going to grab my special group posing platform. I stack all of the Sims on this. And now we're going to use my group pose box to pose them all in a group pose. We'll go group hug. She's going to be in the center. And we're going to give her a happy face. We'll make him left inner. Just like that. And we'll make him right inner. And have him smile. Yeah, that looks a little weird. Then she's going to be left middle. And who's left? Group hug. And we'll do right middle. And we add a face overlay. Okay, so Grace is doing the classic zombie eyes right now, and this is what I hate when they're not idling, when they can't yawn. They will, because their skeleton is locked in place. They'll do the zombie eyes. They'll roll their eyes back in their head, and that is really frustrating when you're trying to take just a nice pick. Now we just pick up the entire SMS or TSMP, I believe, and we recolor that to invisible. Position ourselves relatively in front of them, and we're going to have them all look at the camera. But I need my freezer clock in frame first. So that we can access that without moving out of frame. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. Relatively centered. And then we just have them all look at the player. So we got 4 out of 5. Eric decided to do zombie eyes at the last minute. Okay, so we freeze the other 4 sims. We go back and we select Eric again. And we're going to have him look at player again because he's still doing zombie eyes. No, he's just not cooperating. Once more. And because he's the last sim, I'm not going to freeze him, but let's go back to our camera preset. They're not quite in frame, so I think I need to move that platform back just a little bit. No, they're still not in frame. Little bit more. That's better. Where do I have it? So let's just grab that object rotator, put it about right here, recolor it invisible. And see, the annoying thing about this is it has this opacity plane. So whatever's underneath it is going to be a little bit darker than it would normally be. We pop her into the slot. And then we hit, every time you hit M, it's going to toggle into a new slot. We just do that. Say we want her here. She's turned at about a 35-degree angle. Go back to the camera preset. She's not quite centered. We want to put this tile at the center of the squares. Move back. And let's have her look at the camera. Take a quick screenshot. And that's it.
I was just going to make another note on the freezer clock that I've learned. If you're posing children or animals, it's best to do those first before the adults and teens on the lot. Otherwise, social services and pet services comes and takes away your children and pets because it doesn't really, because you freeze them, it doesn't realize they're a playable character anymore. So it's like, why is there this orphan on the lot? But, you can just quit without saving in those cases. But
yeah,
to
but
avoid
still,
that,
it's
yeah.
handier if you're working with a group pose that involves children or animals, then it's best to pose them and freeze them before you do the adults.
Yes. Yeah.
Another
thing.
That's a good tip.
Another tip I learned with the freezer clock has so many nuances. Is that once you pose a sim and you're like trying to do sim blender stuff, like change their outfit or something, they won't appear as an option on the sim blender. So you have to unfreeze them if you need to like change their outfit again because it doesn't realize they're there.
Right. When you freeze them, they essentially become an object.
Yeah.